Welcome back, everybody, to episode 3 of Clicks and Bricks. Today we're going to be talking about human resources, hiring, documenting, all those fun things, and using technology for that. We've had a couple questions come in. Brian's got those ready for us. But as always, we're going to start out with between the cubicles. And that's what Abby calls our chatter between our cubicles throughout the day, between the cubicles. So what are we talking about today between the cubicles, Brian?
Today, Ken, we are talking about TikTok. But on TikTok, what we're talking about is, I don't know if you guys have all seen this. I've seen it a bunch of different times. But
if it's on TikTok, I've probably seen it 1,000 times. But.
Right? I feel like everyone is on TikTok, or you should be. But there's a song by Stevie Nicks, and it's a guy on a skateboard. He had the song playing in the background. He's drinking some ocean spray. Now, what's funny, what I want to talk about here today it's funny how that song was last on the charts, like the Billboard charts, in 1977, June of 1977.
Was the last time it was on the top 40 or top 100?
Top 100.
So it's really funny because TikTok we've not, at least not a significant change in the music industry, probably since, I guess Pandora and Spotify have changed it quite a bit, but that's just a reiteration of Napster, right? I mean, Napster changed the industry.
LimeWire came.
Yeah.
All the other ones came after that.
So, but TikTok is doing some crazy stuff, right? Because I've been hearing like Brand New Lamborghini and those kinds of songs. I'm hearing them on TikTok before I ever hear them on the radio.
I mean, it's great advertising because there's songs I've heard on TikTok. I'm like, is that a real song? And then later on, I heard the song, and I'm like, I know that song. I've heard that before.
Me and my wife get in this argument all the time. She's like, is that a real song? I'm like, well, all songs are real songs. It's not a make-believe song. It can be a TikTok-only song, but it's still real, right? You got to give... I really hate how people just discount TikTok. Like, it's this make-believe place, or it's only for kids. Man, it is huge. There's a ton of content out there. It's a lot of fun. I made a dream video.
You made one?
I made a dream video last week.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, so if you check out my TikTok,
I gotta make one now. So
I'm pretty sure my TikTok is I am Ken Cox.
Yeah.
So if you check it out, I've got one. We were on a boom lift, and I had Ron lower me down, and I was drinking. I wasn't drinking a ocean spray. I was drinking a Bang, because Bang's my second favorite drink.
It's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's Diet Coke, and then Bang is number 2, and Scatical Radical is my current
Scatical Radical.
My current favorite Bang.
So you gave up the unicorn? I thought it was a unicorn.
I really love the unicorn Bang, but I have definitely moved on to Radical Scatical.
Oh man.
It's like eating Nerds and Skittles at the same time.
That's pretty fun time.
It's pretty good. So yeah, TikTok is absolutely changing the music industry. Bring Stevie Nicks back to number 2. What is she at right now? What is the dreams on the Billboard
last time
right
I checked, which was 2 days ago,
okay.
She was at 17.
17th most popular song in the country right now because of TikTok.
And she hasn't been there in almost 50 years. That's crazy.
When was it? Let's not put ourselves too far.
It was 1977, June.
So I'm 45, so that's 43 years it's been. So let's not give us more age than we need.
And I also think it's cool that she joined TikTok and she did her song that's now trending.
She did her own?
She did her own.
Okay. Editors, can we find that TikTok from Stevie Nicks?
Oh, yeah. Pop that.
Just pop it up right here. That would be fantastic. Good job. Back in the top 100 on Billboard. Back top 20.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, to be gone for that long, several decades.
Right.
And be back there all just because some people are playing around with her song with a computer.
It's kind of funny because we're in St. Louis, and it didn't happen because of TikTok, but Gloria, that happened just last year for us.
With the blues.
Right. So just some kind of a quick fad. I'm not calling TikTok a fad. It's definitely... I think it's going to have its ebbs and flows, just like all the other social media does. But these fads can really just change a song that's, 30, 40 years old and make it a top 40 again. So that would go back to I would say everything that we're talking about right now inside of our branding efforts is creating content, creating music. 40 years ago, she's getting paid again on that content she created
right.
43 years ago. That's fantastic, right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Because I'm sure that she still owns the music.
Right.
She has the rights.
There's a bunch of interviews that she's been taking because obviously, you know, it's a popular song. It was a popular song. It was in the top 4. I think that her highest was like number 4.
Okay.
On the chart. And then now that it's back, you know, being popular again, now she's like resurfacing.
She can start another tour.
She could.
Right?
She could totally start a tour. I mean, she can just make some shirts or something, like all kinds of stuff. And then she joined TikTok because of this video. So I mean,
yeah, it's huge.
Or the trending part, not that one guy. But I just think that's really cool that she can mess around and have her career restarted.
Absolutely.
People playing around with their phones.
I don't think Stevie Nicks' career ever died, but it's been a while since she's been in the mainstream. So
re-energized.
Yes, absolutely. So fantastic. So just keep in mind, keep creating content. If you're a content creator, if you're a music creator, keep creating it. If whatever you're doing, get on TikTok. If you're going to consume it or try to make content for TikTok, it is a lot of fun. It can be a distraction from your daily life, or it can be a fun part of your life. For me, what TikTok has made me become extremely to the point on things, and it's helped me practice that. So you know, longest video you can make is a minute. So getting a point across in 1 minute clearly and concisely is something that TikTok has taught me.
Absolutely.
Just in the past month. So,
I completely agree with that myself. I know that I like to talk about stuff. I'm analytical, so I like to look at it from all these different ways, then tell you about where my mind is at. Yeah. So
for life, though, I can't figure out what makes a popular video.
I haven't figured that out yet.
I can't figure that out.
I don't have one that's very popular yet.
Like I have 2 of them that have, you know, a couple thousand views, and I have no idea why. They're the 2 stupidest videos I think that I've made.
Still like 800 more views on any of my stuff. So I mean, awesome. You're doing better than I am.
Okay,
but have some fun with it, guys and gals. You know, just play around with it. That's what makes all this stuff fun. Social media in general, stuff that does trend. You got to just enjoy it. And people want to enjoy stuff because things are so hard to enjoy nowadays. It feels like.
Right. All right. So now we're going to change gears and we're going to go into today's topic is human resources and technology. And today's episode is sponsored by Bambee. You can put the Bambee URL up right here. And if you're running a business and you have employees and you have HR struggles, Bambee has changed the game for me. How do you spell Bambee?
Bambee.
So it's and that's .com at the end. But we've got an affiliate link up here that we'll throw up there. So if you need, it's very affordable. If you have under 5 employees or 15, I think we have 15 employees on our package. Mm-hmm. We don't do interns or part-timers on there, just full-time employees. But it's a fantastic tool. It will help you organize onboarding, keep track of your employees and review them, all those things on a monthly basis. Plus you have somebody to check, make sure you're not doing anything illegal, which I have accidentally done in the past. I've done some illegal things in as far as payroll goes and things like that. And Bambee helps you make sure that you're not doing any of those things.
Yeah, and some things that I also like about Bambee is that it's also another place to digitally store all your, not all, but basically everything you really need for your employees, like their W-2s and all the things to fill out to say they're an employee that work there, sign their forms. You can have it timestamped and everything right there, easy accessible because it's online. And it's really cool. One of the things I really like about Bambee is that it's easier to manage a team on Bambee with doing those like maintenance conversations.
The human resources part of it, not project management, things like that. So just like make sure you're doing quarterly reviews or monthly reviews.
Right. So doing that review, they have the questions already there. So you basically just like, it'll pop up. I like to leave myself a reminder to make sure I don't forget it. Right. That's probably the one thing I don't like. I wish it would remind me, unless I just didn't configure it right. Right. It could have been a user error, but it's a great tool. So open to our first question here. All right. So the first question I have here is, what advice would you give to someone who interviews through Zoom? And this was asked by Zhang Wu. Okay. It didn't specify if this was on a interviewing for the job or interviewing someone to be hired. Okay. So that's answer both.
So and I've never had a Zoom I've not applied for a job in over 20 years, so I've not been on an interview in a long time, especially specifically for a job. But I would say the how to do it on Zoom is there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? And I think it's also going to depend on what kind of person you're looking for. So we'll go through a couple different scenarios.
Okay.
At Hosterian, we hire a lot of NOC technicians, right? And NOC stands for Network Operating Center, Network Operations Center. It's also, we call it the SOC sometimes, Security Operations Center. And we have a decent sized staff, and we run 24/7, right? 365. So we're here all the time. And whenever we lose a position, we have to replace it very quickly because we can never have a situation where the data center is empty, right? Somebody always has to be there to go reboot servers and check on things and stuff like that. So, and since COVID, things have changed, but a pre-COVID world, whenever we would send out for those, and those are entry-level positions, right? Whenever we would go through Indeed, we'd put out the applications, we put it on Indeed, Facebook, JobSeeker, all these different platforms. And we used an awesome tool called Calendarly.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so we would use Calendarly, and we'll put the link right up here for Calendarly. And so we would, whenever we got somebody that we wanted to interview, we would send them a Calendarly link, and we would book pre-Zoom and pre-COVID. We would send a Calendarly link to come into the office.
Ooh, can we pause for a quick second?
Yes.
I almost forgot to mention Calendarly. What Calendarly does is give someone access to your calendar, and they just pick a time spot.
Correct.
Right. So that's the part that makes this really work.
Right.
Right. Because you can pick your spot.
Right. So pre-Zoom and Calendarly plugs in with Zoom, really nice. Pre-Zoom, we would have to book five interviews for every 15-minute slot.
Right.
Right. Because we had so many people not showing up to interviews.
Right.
And to have an interviewer sit there paying somebody to interview these people, and they sit there for 15 minutes and nobody shows up, we said, okay, so we started booking 5 people.
And that's a pretty common
time
thing.
slot. Absolutely.
Right, all across the board. No, it doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Right. You should look at hiring staff almost like prospecting for clients, right? It's you have to be aggressive. You have to assume that some people aren't going to show up to your webinars and things like that. So you overbook those things, and then you deal with the influx there. But whenever we went to Calendarly and Zoom, our take rate went through the roof. Almost everybody that signed up for a Zoom interview showed up for the interview. So we do it a couple of different ways. For those entry position jobs, we book 5-minute interviews on Zoom through Calendarly, and we just fill them up. And that way we don't have to overbook, right? Because worst case scenario, somebody doesn't show, we've got a guy sitting idle for 5 minutes. And that interview is a very, very quick getting to know you interview on Zoom. And it's a, hey, how are you doing? This is kind of what the position is. Is this something you're interested in? Because that position is, it's weekends, it's overnights, there's all kinds of different stuff. So there's a lot of pre-qualifying things that we can go through before we're going to sit down and invest 30 minutes or an hour with the potential candidate. So I would say be prepared for a long day of interviews when that happens.
Get some rest prior.
Right.
It's going to interviewing is exhausting.
And I've gone to the point that hiring somebody is a guess, right? So if you're going to hire somebody, you automatically have to make the assumption they're looking for a job. They're putting their absolute best foot forward, and they're giving you the best version of them, at least hopefully.
Well, I would also say then that I think they're giving the best version of what they think you want to hear.
Right.
Right. So you may not even get that real person. It's what they perceive that you're looking for that they're going to try to put out in the forefront, which is the reason why people get so nervous about hiring.
Correct.
So, right? Is this person being honest with me or not?
Get rid of that completely, right? Just get that out of your mindset. Take them for who they are. Have a good conversation with them. Hire easy, right? Get them in the door. Learn who they are. Get to know them, and then make the decision if you're going to cut them or not. Because hiring is a guess, and firing is a decision.
Period.
Right? It's just the way it is. So once you have them in the door, that's really when you're going to figure out who they are that first week, right?
Yeah, I'm also I agree with that, and I'm a big believer that in the interviewing process, you have to be able to have a conversation. It can't just be like you're answering a test.
Yeah, there's some people that you're going to learn really quickly that you're not going to hire them in the interview process, right?
Right. Right.
But I've interviewed people before that had stutters, right? And they had a stutter in the interview, and I asked them, like, hey, obviously you're interviewing for a phone position, right? So it's going to be on the phone, and I can tell that you have a stutter. Is that something that you always have, or are you extremely nervous in this interview process? Right. And they said, oh, I don't normally have a stutter. I do have it when I'm in a high stress situation. And so like an interview. So that's another great point. If you see something awkward about somebody, ask them. Just ask them the question, right?
Direct, straight to it.
If you have a stutter, I think the person knows they have a stutter. Right?
They heard it.
It's not a secret. So, and if they're going to be answering the phones, ask them, right? And just be candid about it. Be empathetic with them, and I understand
you
having a stutter.
Don't attack him and make fun of him for it.
Right, having a stutter would be suck, right?
Yeah. Right? Don't Billy Madison them.
So, ask them that question, and if they can prove to you throughout the interview process, once you can de-escalate the stress,
right,
then hopefully that goes away. And I think in Zoom meetings, they are more casual, so that stress level is reduced a little bit, right?
If you think about it, you're probably at their house or a place they feel comfortable enough to have the internet, and they want to be able to hear you. So I've been seeing people use like headphones to make sure they can hear everything being said.
Yes,
which I think that's kind of interesting. But what I was the point I was kind of trying to drive in there about the conversation is that you're not just hiring to fill a position, you're hiring to also continue and grow the culture of your company.
Right. And for me, it's really, I've said this to our employees all the time. I'm going to spend as much time with the new employee as I'm going to spend probably more time with them than I'm going to spend with my wife, right? At least for the first 30 days that we're together going through training. So it has to be a good relationship. And I think with Zoom and Calendar, those tools that we have today help facilitate that. On the other side of the fence, if you're interviewing for a job and you're using Zoom, hide your My Little Ponies, right? If you're still in your childhood bedroom, right? Make sure that you get a sheet or something and put it up behind you.
Set your background up.
Set the background up. Take an effort and do that, right? I've had probably 100 interviews with I don't want to call them kids, but younger people that are either just getting out of college and they're back home with their parents and they're in their childhood bedroom. Right, especially with COVID. This is happening more with COVID.
Right,
and some of you should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. And I like a lot of weird shit. I've got my Kevin Smith stuff and kind of things in my bedroom too. But some of it's
but what, that's part of their personality though, man.
Then you're not going to get. If you pop onto a Zoom interview and your room has piles of dirty clothes and, empty beer bottles laying all over the place, you're probably not going to get the job. If you really want the job, that's not the best way to do it. And I think people think, oh, this is a Zoom interview. I can just skate through it really quick and they won't notice it.
So I guess the tip here for the interviewers is to take it seriously. It's still an interview, regardless if it's in a chillax type of environment. Make sure you have some kind of professionalism, right? So if you're going to have stuff in the background, make sure it's something that really represents you.
Yes.
And not a good side of you too, right?
I would say actually, I haven't thought about it that way.
Well, you don't want
use that as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? If I were interviewing today, right, and I knew I was going to interview for somebody and I knew it was a Zoom interview, I would follow them on Twitter, I'd follow them on Facebook, Instagram, all those things, and I would look for hobbies that person has that maybe we have in common.
And talk about it.
And I wouldn't even bring it up. I would try to place something in the background that I knew that they would see, that try to bring them into the conversation, try to prop the interviewer into something like, hey, I see what's that you got there.
So would you kind of showcase it? If this was you kind of lean next to it?
I don't think I'd showcase. I don't think I wouldn't try to push it too hard, but I would definitely try to create the opportunity for something fun and interesting to happen.
I mean, I
that
think
you can't do
in a
regular interview, right? I guess you could put a Cardinals pin on if you're interviewing and they like the Cardinals.
But I'm wearing cool ties or socks, stuff like that. Because I'm a sock guy. I got Cardinal socks, right? I got boxing socks, Christmas tree, Margarita Monday socks, right?
But you can't really kick your socks up in an interview. Right.
Oh, I mean, I sit in a way where like, I mean, I cross my legs, so it'll show, man.
Yeah.
It'll show. I mean, if you wear your stuff in your pants short enough,
Right.
or depending on how your style is, the sock may not be appropriate for you.
Right.
It may not work.
So like almost not every interview I do, but a lot of interviews, a common theme is, have you looked at our website? Do you understand what we do? And if they haven't looked at the website prior to the interview, the company's website, they're probably not going to get the job because they're showing very little interest in the position. Right. But if you're going to take the time to look at the company, and if the company's like Hosterian, we're putting our staff out front. Right. We put me out front on our website. We put Brian out front on our website.
And my family.
And our families, right? So because we're a privately held company that loves what we do, and we think that our people
small business
are our differentiator, right? And so if you're going to take the time to research the company, you should take a little bit of time in today's world and research the person interviewing you.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that would show a lot of initiative and give you fantastic talking points.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if we answered the question or not.
I feel like we kind of did.
I think we answered the question and then diverged a little bit. So
one thing I just thought about now, actually, when you said that, on the flip side, back for the employer, a great advice to see if that person will fit your culture is to ask them a simple question like, "Tell me a funny story."
Yeah, that works really great.
Right, that was a good one for us. Like we got to know, you get to know people a little bit, right?
And we did that actually in the booking the interview portion. So we on Calendarly, you can ask, name, email address, phone number, and then you can say, "Tell me a funny story about your life," or "Tell me a story that changed your life," right? In a paragraph. Let you really know what kind of person you're talking to, and it can give you some talking points whenever you get into that interview, right?
They're going to give you the break the ice,
right? We hire a decent amount of Muslims for the knock, right? Not a whole lot, but some. And the ones that I always like the ones that like when they go to pay homage, right? Because it's this big long trek that they have to do. It takes a very long time. So I always like hearing those stories about when somebody's traveled to Mecca, and then especially if they're open to talking about it, because it's fascinating to talk about. Yeah. So you get to hear about people's puppies, and just you get to learn about what kind of person they are,
what the things they care about, the things they don't.
Right.
We had a couple ones that were funny. Like, okay, they learned some really valuable moments.
Right. There is a technique that I don't care for, but a lot of the business coaches will tell you to do this, and I'll let you know what it is. I stay away from it because 100% of the time, I am a straight shooter, and I don't like playing games. And I feel like this is a game, not necessarily a tactic, is to almost as soon as the interview starts, ask them to reschedule. So if you need somebody that's highly resilient, that has a high level of resiliency or a high level of patience, I might use this tactic.
It may work.
And it is, as soon as the interview starts, say, "Hey, something just came up and I'm not going to be able to do this interview. Can I call you back in 2 hours? Or can you call me back in 2 hours?" Actually, it's "call me back in 2 hours." And then that's going to tell you a couple things. If they get flustered and they're frustrated, then it tells you they don't deal with change very well.
Right.
And if they don't call you back at the exact minute, then it shows you they can't follow directions very well. I think it's a tactic. I don't care for it. And to me, it feels like I'm playing a game, so I don't use that tactic. But I've talked to a lot of hiring managers, and they use that tactic a lot.
I like that for salespeople.
If I was hiring, I don't think I'm ever going to hire salespeople again. But if I was hiring like people that just did hardcore sales,
I've heard that in sales, like hiring.
Right. And then we just hire. We really hire marketing people and order takers. Hardcore salespeople, I think, are challenging to hire and keep on for a long time.
Yeah.
Like your traditional kind of used car salesman guy, right?
They get that kind of name.
Yeah.
I definitely think salesman's gotten a bad name in our society. I've been a salesman for a long time, and right. I hardcore take offense to when people get mad, like talk about.
On the same note, I think all businesses should have people that have salesmanship, but
But that's what people don't like. It's not the salesmen. It's most salesmen have poor salesmanship.
Right, they're buy my stuff.
Right, they don't care if you need it, if you want it, if it's even going to solve the problem that you have. They're just like, buy it, so I want my commission.
Correct.
So it's not that salesmen are bad. It's just people have had bad experiences with salespeople, so they just lump them all together,
Right.
which is something our society does a lot that I really don't like.
We do overgeneralize.
Drives me insane.
Yes.
And before we go on to the next question, the last point I wanted to mention about that statement, asking me, tell me a story about yourself, is that not only does it tell you something about the person, it also lets you know if they follow directions.
Yes.
Like, that's a simple task right there.
Because 10 to 20% of them won't even do that part.
They'll say,
Right.
I like pizza.
Right.
That's not a story at all.
Right. Or they'll leave it blank.
Or won't even answer it.
Right.
So that also helps you narrow down, okay, well, that person got moved to the bottom of the barrel for this position.
Yep.
All right. So Zhang, Zhang Wu, hope I pronounced that right. And hopefully I answered your question. All right. So actually that question kind of answered the other question that we have is, how do I prepare for a Zoom interview? We got to do that one a little bit down, but we can touch on it really quickly.
Yeah, I think the basics are, if you're in the office, if you're in a cubicle, make sure the people around you know that you're going to be doing an interview and to be respectful and mindful of that. I would keep traffic behind you to a minimum if possible. If you can go to another room, I would. Try to make sure that your headspace isn't too much, right? So I've been in a lot of interviews where people are way down here. And it's just weird, right? It doesn't feel right. So be conscious of the thirds. The third rule, right? My eyes should be at a third in the camera view.
Right.
One third, right? You can kind of see if you
Just
draw
a third. Whoa.
thirds on this screen now. You can see that. Sorry, I bumped the table, screwed up my thirds quite a bit. So just make sure you're filling the frame, right? I think it's a safe assumption that if you're getting an interview, that the person interviewing is not on a phone. So I would have a horizontal view.
Yeah.
If they are on a phone, I would flip it up to, the vertical view. I would definitely try to make sure that I was hardwired and not wireless, so that I have a consistent connection. And
I would test it all out prior. So I would make sure I'm early enough
right.
to test my audio out, make sure I can hear, my mic is working, because Zoom will tell you if your mic is on or not, if you're getting a solid connection or not, because that can let you know right away if you need to grab a mic or if you have a Bluetooth headset, because you may have to wire everything.
And if you don't have Zoom already installed on your computer, I would do that a couple of days before the meeting. So if you've never used Zoom before, install it, talk to friends or family members, get Zoom installed, and play with it a little bit, just so that you're used to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And practice, right? I mean, it's just like everything else.
That was my last one.
Practice.
You have to practice.
Yes.
Because obviously being that, the world isn't where the world is, a lot of things are being done with technology, right? So if we're going to be on Zoom a lot, you need to know the Zoom etiquette.
Yes.
Right?
And I'll tell you, like, I have one of my coaches in boxing that says, I've always used practice makes perfect. And he's like, no, practice makes persistent. So when you're practicing, shoulders up, nice posture, all those things, because if you're practicing and you're slumped down and you're not thinking somebody's on the other side, the things that you do in practice consistently will show up when you're doing it for real.
Right.
So practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes persistence. And
I think that's very interesting.
Yes.
Because I was told practice makes permanent.
Okay. Yeah. Same thing.
It's very similar.
Right.
But that's funny that we both heard something that most people say, and we both heard it in a different way.
Yeah, and I don't like the word permanent. So maybe he said that and I changed it to persistent. But permanent's a long thing, right?
Well, because that's what happens. Whatever you practice, it just becomes like your default.
Right.
And defaults, you can change your default, but what happens
It's challenging.
It's challenging, man.
Yes.
Challenging as all hell. And without even subconsciously, you just do it.
Right.
And
so
that's the whole point
when
of
you're
practice.
practicing with your mom, your grandma, your buddy, whoever, take it very seriously, right? Sit up, get dressed all the way. What are you going to wear to that interview? Wear that to the practice. Make sure that it's all good and follow that process. And you should be, pretty good. Today, if you're anybody looking for a job today, I think you're sitting in a great spot.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There should be plenty of jobs in the world today for you to get. If there's not, screw it. Start your own thing, which is what I'd recommend you do anyway.
In this world, there's so many different options for you to do, man, to start your own thing. Business owners are popping up like weeds now.
Yes.
They're all over the place. All right, and that was by Patel. All right, and then we have Daniel. Daniel asked, I'm on the wrong one. Oh, is Zoom sufficient for a job interview?
Yes.
So I guess Daniel's trying to figure out what other applications would work besides Zoom, or should Zoom be the one?
So Zoom is a great one. I use ScreenLeap quite a bit, and I would use ScreenLeap if I was hiring like a programmer or something like that, so I could bring it up and then really show some technical skill through the app. And ScreenLeap is really a screen sharing application. It's not
right.
You can use your camera in it as well, but primarily screen sharing. So if I was trying to find somebody that can do specific problem solving, things like that, I'd probably go to ScreenLeap, and I might even do a Zoom with a ScreenLeap add-on on a separate monitor for that.
Does a Zoom integrate with?
No, two completely separate. They're competitors, right? Kind of.
Okay.
But I forget what the name was, but we'll put it right here. And we got to get it from Abby. Abby used the tool the other day for interviewing interns. And it was very similar to Zoom, but they could share documents on the screen, almost like a newscaster or what we're doing here.
That's really cool.
Right? They could put documents up and share documents through that real time on the screen. And I don't know the name of it because it was just yesterday she was interviewing for interns. But that was a program that the school had that we had to install on her computer, and the school had this.
That's really cool.
This program that they used.
So we'll get that out for you.
Yep.
Another tool, if you're looking for an alternative for Zoom, Skype. Yeah, people still use it. It's obviously another free thing. It's mobile, do it on a computer. That's another good tool you can use. You can also share documents and things like that in there as well. I'm not sure if it pops up the same way like that one that Abby used for the interns. Right. But you can share documents and information.
The one that used, and we'll put that up, it was like speed dating. Like it was insane. So because I kind of watched over her shoulder, so I'm like, wow, how are you getting so many interviews so fast? And it was the intern pool was sitting there, and there was a couple hundred interns that needed to be interviewed, and it was like, she had a 5-minute intermission scheduled, and it was as soon as one interview was over, the next person was just bam on her screen, right, just nonstop.
That's cool.
So, and that was a program that Webster University has, and I had to give them props because it was highly efficient to interview those interns.
Shout out to Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri.
Absolutely.
There you go. All right. So, which one was that?
So Skype is great for especially international interviews.
Yep.
And I would also say, if you're looking for, obviously Fiverr is a great place to hire one-off work, but also Upwork has a pretty good, Upwork.com, we'll put the link up there too, has a really good vetting process built into it for hiring consultants and contractors and things of that nature. So that's more of a all-encompassing tool that has, it's almost like Indeed, Zoom, and Calendly built into one, but with a staffing agency tied into it as well, right? So you can put up your job and
that's really cool.
Find people, but it's 100% remote work, which in today's world is becoming wildly more popular.
Absolutely, right? I mean, and having the flexibility with being able to integrate all that stuff.
Right. But that would be those would be contractors, so they'd be 1099 employees. They would not be W-2 employees. And actually, I don't even think they're 1099 employees because they get paid through Upwork.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah.
So you pay Upwork, not the person.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They could be W-2 employees.
Yes. So.
Okay. All right. So that was on. Who was that? Daniel. The next question that actually kind of leads into something we talked about a little bit is that what is the future of the freelancing position? This is by Sakura.
Future of freelancing is enormous, right? I don't think we've scratched the surface, right? Because we live in a world that has freelance grocery shoppers and freelance taxi cab drivers, right? So I think freelance is going to be leaned on more and more. I believe that in a world of COVID where employees are getting used to having remote workers, the ability to have remote freelancers, because if you have a manager that's already trained in dealing and doing HR with people remotely, well, that opens the borders to the whole world, right? So it opens the doors for low skill labor, repetitive labor, all the way up to high skill labor across all assets, unless you physically need somebody in your building, and even then freelancers are possible. It's just more challenging. It's going to be gigantic.
I think we're not even close to the scale of it. I mean, we were talking about this the other day, how like we were all raised that you don't go inside strangers' cars.
Right.
Right. You don't really talk to random strangers, really.
Right.
And now, through the safety of an application, not only do we get inside strangers' cars, we send them our address.
Yep.
And we give them money. And in some cases, we put our children in the car with these strangers.
Actually, I mean, on Facebook, I've got a couple things in Facebook Market right now that I'm just publishing, and I fully anticipate somebody showing up at my house, complete strangers, right, to buy this stuff. So
it's crazy that that was. I mean, I swear that was like 20 years ago when that was like still a really big thing where you weren't supposed to do that. But now with how technology has been integrated into our lives and how it's basically. You cannot get away from technology. You're almost a weirdo if you're not on technology.
So stuff like Upwork and Fiverr are huge for what you would think of freelancing, but then you also have TaskRabbit and Instacart. So TaskRabbit, you can go on there and hire somebody to come over and install a ceiling fan or light fixtures or fix your plumbing. Right? You can do that.
That's cool.
You can do that through TaskRabbit, and it's.
I've never used TaskRabbit.
You haven't? I have quite a bit. I like it a lot. It's I don't believe it's going to be challenging to replace a skilled laborer that is bonded and insured with TaskRabbit. But so if you're going to do something big, I would say hire a company, a contractor. But if you're going to be doing something small, like that doesn't require a skilled trade, caulking your toilets, right? Those kinds of things. Mounting a TV. I mean, it requires some skill, but I think it's a skill that a lot of basic handymen have. So TaskRabbit's a great thing for that. But if it's, running a whole bunch of fiber optic lines or doing a big electrical job at high voltage or a big plumbing job, I don't think TaskRabbit's the way to go. I do affirm. But
so is it kind of like you kind of separated on it? Is this something that you need a license to be able to do?
For me, it's more about the bonded and insured. Right. So I trust a lot of people to do work for me, but if it's the potential to lose a lot of money. So the last TaskRabbit that we got put together my kids' trampoline. They screwed it all up, man. The trampoline's busted all to hell, and they didn't put some spacers in the poles, so the poles like
uneven and bent.
I mean, my son's a savage as well. He helped the situation. He's like swinging around on the poles and stuff, but they shouldn't have broke as fast as they did. And when we looked at it a little closer, we saw pretty quickly that the installers didn't do a couple of things 100% correct. But luckily, we bought it through Amazon, and they were fantastic about it. And they sent us the parts that were missing. And I don't know if the installer didn't do it right or not, but that's something. In hindsight, I'm looking at like, wow, this guy I didn't know came to my house and put together something like a trampoline that my 9 and 13-year-old kid are playing on a nonstop basis in the backyard, and they kind of did shoddy work. So if you're gonna do freelancers, make sure you're checking their work really aggressively. If you're hiring them, also be understanding that they might not be insured and bonded. And if you're hiring them for your company to do long-term work, remember they're not your employee, right? They are a freelancer and they have that mentality. So you have to have very fast processes to get them out of your systems. If you're letting them into your systems, for us, we use Active Directory. We can lock them out very well. We use two things in Hosterian for freelancers. We use Active Directory and we use a VPN, contracted VPN. So first they have to log into the VPN, and then second they can get into systems with their Active Directory. We can suspend their Active Directory password very quickly, like a phone, and we can lock them out of the VPN portal very quickly as well. So it's actually 3 steps of authentication. They've got to log into the VPN, then they have their Active Directory credentials, and they can log into each individual server. And then we have the NOC and SOC that are checking to make sure that they were supposed to be logging into that machine when they logged in. So syslog makes sure that happens. So having a lot of technology, if you're hiring a technical freelancer, make sure that you have the right facilities to get them not only onboarded quickly, which is important because you don't want to spend a whole lot of labor getting people configured to do work for you. You want to make sure that you can lock them out very quickly as well. One of the great things about if you're hiring technical freelancers through Upwork, you can only communicate with them through Upwork, or you agree to that. Obviously, you can give them your email address and stuff, but I would recommend not doing that. But they have screen record. So when they're doing work for you, it takes a snapshot of their screen every 10 minutes.
That's
so
cool.
you can go back and review, and then you can set that to 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So
also the person that orders or buys the work can decide on when they want that.
So depending on what
cool.
kind of work you're doing. So we had when we had Brenda working for us, I didn't record her screen because the output was very obvious, right? She had do these 30 things every single day. But when we have another kid, our hit working, I don't know. I call them kids. They could be 50. I don't know. But he's doing some programming work for a law firm that we support right now, and we have him set because we've had some problems with productivity. We have it set to do a screenshot every 5 minutes for his work right now.
Well, I think that's the part of the biggest reasons why a lot of business owners in general just don't want remote employees because it's harder to manage them. But that is a built-in thing with Upwork to help you.
Right, and it's also hard to fire somebody. Like it's not hard to fire somebody, but it's a process to let somebody go. Right? I mean, we live in a world in our country that has rules and laws. You can't. Missouri's a right-to-work state, so we have a little bit more leniency in letting somebody go. We can fire somebody for any reason, any time, but you put your company at risk every time you fire somebody.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. If you think, you can be Ari Gold from Entourage walking in with a ping pong gun, shooting everybody, saying you're fired, you're fired, you're fired.
Can't do that.
You can, but you should expect some lawsuits.
There's a lot of trouble afterwards.
You're gonna get, and you'll lose. And they're hefty lawsuits when they come that way. So
yeah, well, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, when I looked at my time frames where I had to let people go, I always made a paper trail.
Right, and that's what I love about Bambee because every single month. I have to go in on all the people that have direct reports to me. I go in and I, at minimum, every month rate them, exceeds expectations, meets expectations, or needs improvement with those three things. So most of my staff is right at that meets expectations. They come to work on time every day. They bust their ass. They really work really hard. Very few have needs improvement. And right now, I don't have anybody that exceeds expectations. Like my expectations might be a little high.
I beg to differ, but
so
in the future of freelancing work, I don't think we've seen. It sounds like we're both in agreement that we haven't seen nowhere near where it's going to be. You got Uber popped up, Airbnb popped up, Instacart popped up. TaskRabbit popped up. There's all these different things, and it's only going to be more things that's going to pop up.
Right.
Like I think I saw one. I was looking for a nanny one time. I saw there's a nanny one.
Oh, is there? Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, basically, I guess the short of it, there's a huge tail to this. But at the end of the day, if you need something done, you need to go on the internet and look for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an application or a group of people that have probably already done it and did an amazing job at doing it.
Well, and on the other side, the ability to learn right now is insane, right? So if you think just Google, I can Google almost anything and learn how to do it.
And watch a YouTube video that shows someone doing
it. Last night I got certified to be a coach, an official coach, right? I took my test online. I've applied for my coach's license. So now I can coach for USA Boxing, right?
Woo-woo.
And be an official coach and sit in ringsides with people. So I did all of that online. I didn't have to do anything in person. We were looking for this specific podcast today. We were looking for some education, and I have a system I have a subscription to Skillshare, and
maybe we should put that
right. And go ahead and put Skillshare's URL up here. And Skillshare is a fantastic resource, and almost immediately, like I just looked at for publishing podcasts,
like 2 minutes,
and I found an 11-minute course, and I think I pay maybe $100 a year for Skillshare, and I found an 11-minute course on publishing podcasts, and found a tool called Anchor.io. We'll put it up here too, but it's a tool for publishing podcasts to all the major podcaster platforms in the world, and it's free. It's a free
one
tool,
button and it goes out.
Not only is it a free tool, but you can use it to monetize your podcast as well. So, just having that Skillshare app or that tool is a fantastic resource for me. But plus, it's open for anybody to make courses video courses
Teach
to
people.
go in there and get paid to. So if you know how to, I mean, you can make a course tomorrow on how to make the world's best grilled cheese, put it on Skillshare, and
Everyone
people
will watch it.
would see it, right? And I make the best grilled cheese, so I should probably do that. My daughter tells me all the time.
You just plug your own. He's like, look out for my best grilled cheese coming out.
So, I mean, between Skillshare, Udemy, which is a place where you can buy specific courses, it's a little different, but they're super cheap.
Yeah.
Like, I bought a course on Udemy on how to configure Docker instances, which if you're not a super nerd, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But I bought it for like $12 or $15, and now I have I'm not a Docker expert by far, but I can spin up servers and spin up Dockers without any issues. So there's just zero excuse in today's world for not finding people that can do the work that you need done, or two, learning how to do it yourself. And my recommendation would be learn the basics and hire someone to do it so you can keep running in the direction that you want to run in. But I think having those education tools is a great way to just give yourself a gut check. Like, does this person really know what they're doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to know that, like, okay, like, can I trust that they're doing what they said they're going to be doing?
Right. So in
And now you
today's
know what to
world,
look
like,
for. You know what to
it
look
really
for now.
sucks for a lot of, I own a gym, right? And for a lot of gym owners right now, it sucks for them hiring social media marketers, right? They're getting taken advantage left and right because
Everyone can do it.
every 14-year-old girl says, oh, I know social media, right? And they know how to make a post and they know how to make funny stuff, but they don't know how to
represent a brand.
represent a brand and tell a story from beginning to end, or keep that consistency going. Or, they might, oh yeah, I know social media. Oh, I don't log into Facebook. Like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, I only use Instagram. Like, well, that's not knowing social media. That's knowing Instagram, right? So, they just get taken. So, and I think that's a problem right now for gym owners, spa owners, any brick and mortar that somebody has started their business because they love that thing. They don't have the time, or they don't have the energy, or they don't care to know the social media side, and they're trying to hire someone to do the social media stuff. So I would highly recommend take some courses on social media marketing, take some courses on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Just to know enough just to be able to have a conversation about what you even want. You can't even say what you want if you don't know.
Well, even that if you want to let them run with the job, let them run with it. But at least then you have some basis to go back and say, hey, I noticed you did this, but in my class it said to do this. What do you think, right? And
Why did you do that?
Or you can challenge them and have
was
some
your
input. But as a business owner, you don't want to be the one
Doing everything.
posting pictures at 2 a.m. Because you've had a hard day. You probably had somebody walk out on you in the last couple of weeks. You've got rent due, mortgage due, all these other things. And, that's not you have to have it. If you can do it yourself, do it yourself. If you can't, though, hire somebody and learn the basics.
I think that's great advice.
But if you can do it yourself, do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you like to do it, do it.
Right.
Okay. So let's see here. Next question, moving along.
Or at least be involved in it. Right.
This is by Dan. What interview advice would you give someone at the beginning of their career?
At the beginning of their career, so right out of college, first interview.
That's how, when I'm assuming, the beginning. So they're just now starting, launching. I mean, they could be switching careers, but it sounds like they're starting a new journey.
I would say do whatever you have to do to pay the bills while you're doing it in this process, right? So deliver from Uber, deliver for the pizza joint, bartend, right? Bartend, that paid for a lot of my bills growing up in my early 20s.
It stops you from going out too.
Actually, from 22 to probably 31, I bartended. But
that's pretty long.
I stayed in that world a little bit too long. But that's how I found my wife. So she pulled me out of there, and we're
Sounds like
living
worked
a
out
happy, healthy
perfectly.
life now. So one, do whatever you have to do in this portion to earn money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just take a career job because you got offered that career job. Really focus on what you like doing, and frequently, as often as possible, be reaching out to the companies that you want to work for, right? don't just go on Indeed and click yes to all the jobs and sign up for interviews that you don't want the job, right?
Yeah.
And don't not interview for a job because you don't meet all the qualifications. If you have a good personality and you're really going to hustle and you think you can show that in an interview, go ahead and apply. Try to get the interview. I don't know how resumes are really being handled right now in the world. I know on Indeed we just get flooded with these really poorly formatted app resumes, and it's not great. I don't think there's a good.
Well, what's wrong with them?
And Indeed, Indeed and Monster and all these places, you import your resume into the platform, and then we get the resumes from the platform, and generally they're pretty bad formatted. Right? So I think that if you're going to put your resume in Indeed, you should then download it and look at it and make sure your padding's right, your margins are right, and all those things. And the same thing with Monster, right? So I would definitely, if you're going to use those two platforms, once you've uploaded your resume, download it, make sure that it looks okay because they strip out a lot of the form. If you upload it in Word, it's going to strip out a bunch of the formatting before we get it. Not a huge deal. We kind of just go through them quickly and say yes, and we try to interview if we get an application, we're probably going to interview, right? And if they show up to the interview and go from there, at least that first 5-minute interview. So very frequently be reaching out to the companies that you want to work for. And today I would say you should probably be able to get through 20 to 50 a day pretty easily. I would lean on LinkedIn massively, right? Reaching out to hiring managers on LinkedIn. There's a lot of companies that just won't hire outside of an agency. So if you want to work for a specific firm, find out what agency they use for their hiring. I know in town we have MasterCard and Edward Jones. They hire primarily through agencies. I think Worldwide Technology primarily hires through agencies. They don't do a lot of direct.
They do a lot of referrals.
Do a lot of referral hiring?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, if you want to work for a specific company, try to find their hiring agency. If you know somebody that works there, try to go that path for sure to get on board. But I would really focus on what do you want to do? What kind of job do you want to have? And approach those companies specifically and really target their hiring managers. That
was the point that I was going to make. Okay. you stole my thunder a little bit. Okay. But yeah, my point was going to be that my biggest advice would say to get to know yourself. I think there's not a lot of time that people take to really know who they are, so they don't know what they want. Right. And if you don't know who you are and what you want, it's going to be really challenging to find a job that you're going to be happy at. Because the last thing you want to do at a place where you're going to be spending more time at than a lot of times your house or with your family is work at a place where you wake up and you're just like, Jesus, how am I going to get through this day?
Right. If you're doing that, you got to change something in your life.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So to your point, right, make sure that you're applying for places that you could see yourself being in. And even if you don't know, you want to give it a shot, that's enough to try to figure it out. But then don't stay there. If it's not if you get that, I don't know what I'm doing here feeling in the morning when you're getting ready, then you know it's time to make a change. Right. But you have to make that change well before you get to that point. Because then you can start going to depression, a whole other world of problems at that point.
Yeah, you don't want to go down that path. And we live in a world at least in America, and you should be grateful that the poorest person in America is richer than most people in the world. So
you still have you're rich in opportunity.
Right. We have plenty of opportunity here. So don't think that you can't, or that you can only work retail, or just get rid of anything that you believe that is keeping you held back.
Let it go.
Let it go, man. It's not. There's plenty of things in the world you can do. Unless you have some kind of legal reason you can't do things, you can get it done. Other than that, I would say there's other careers that are just you shouldn't apply for if you don't have you shouldn't apply to be a doctor unless you have your doctorate, right? Right. Some of the obvious stuff.
Absolutely, you kind of need some stuff first.
Yeah, but if if you wanted to be a doctor, if I wanted to be a doctor, I would probably want to start working in hospitals as a nurse or whatever I could while I was going to school, right? So I would think that whatever you want to do in life, and I'm 45, I haven't figured it out yet. I know a lot of things that I like doing, but I don't know what my legacy is going to be yet.
I know a lot of stuff I don't like doing, and I think that's still a win for me.
Yes.
Right, 'cause I know that if I was asked to do that, I'm like, thank you, but no thank you.
Right. Yeah, I don't like digging ditches. I don't like
Not my thing.
Right. Well, I do like if I have a big ditch witch. I wouldn't want to do it all day, every day as my job. So
yeah. So get to know yourself. Try to figure out what it is you want to do. And even if you don't find the dream job that you're looking for, at least something in that field so you can get to know the industry, know more about like what it entails to be in that world. Because you may even find out that you don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy I grew up with. He was here yesterday. He's a plumber, right? And he's our plumber for our building. But I grew up with the guy, right? He's a plumber. He's super happy in life, right? He does his job. He knows his trade very well. He enjoys it. I know what he charges us for plumbing work, and I'm not going to do it. So I think he makes a decent living. And, but you think, oh, man, I don't want to be a plumber. But I think he enjoys his job. He's got a consistent schedule, and he loves, teaching his kids football. So that's what makes him happy. So it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or what they're looking at you or anything like that. It's about you and what's going to make you happy. And if it's plumbing, go be a plumber.
So okay. Do the research and find out.
Right.
Because you'd be surprised too, like what you thought could have been wildly inaccurate. A lot of people think that all plumbers do is deal in poop.
Right.
Right. But don't forget that plumbers install water heaters. Right.
Well, and I would say on the other note on that, if you're doing something that nobody else wants to do, you'll get paid.
Yes.
So if you're just chasing money, you have something that you're going to do it, nobody else wants to do it. That's a fantastic way to know that you've got a career for the long term.
Right. Absolutely. So let's see here. The other question we kind of hit it. The future. So what does freelancing work a college-going student could do? That's by Vic.
So if I was a college kid right now and I needed freelance work and I couldn't get a bartending job, and you can't today in COVID, right? Or at least in our town, COVID right now,
4 weeks.
We're shut down for at least another 4 weeks. All bars, restaurants, everything. So you can't. I would be on Fiverr and Upwork, and I would probably get me a PicMonkey account. And I would sell logo creation or thumbnail creation for Facebook or for YouTube creators. Something along the artistic. If you're not I think that Photoshop and PicMonkey and those guys are more technically capable than creative. But you can do that very easily. Do artwork for people on Fiverr. You can do voiceovers for people's phone systems. Right? We just paid a lady the other day to give us a voiceover. Push 1 for sales, push 2 for. So if you've got a nice voice and a microphone, and you have a microphone on your phone, right, that you can record stuff on, you could record, write a book, right? Or if you're a good writer, you can freelance rewriting books for people, or shadow writing for people, or even editing somebody else's book, just spell checking words for them. I think there's resume writing services that you can jump into. There's all kinds of things, right?
It's really just what do you like? What are you interested in? That's what I would say. Whatever you're interested in, there's some kind of way that you can get paid doing it.
Right.
You just got to figure out what that looks like.
The biggest thing that you have to realize, and I got into an argument with a girl just the other day about this, and it's a horrible turnout for me. Is that you do have a choice. I don't care what you think. You can choose to not do what you're currently doing and do something else. Whatever you're good at, whatever you enjoy doing, someone will probably pay you to do it. I've not found anybody to pay me to drink beer and eat pizza. If I could, that is truly what I love doing. But if you want to get somewhat realistic about it.
You become a professional pizza eater?
Well, I mean,
that contest.
Realistically, I could create a YouTube channel that tastes all the different beers and taste all the different pizzas in the world. Right? I could really just embrace
Gary Vee's way, man.
Yes, I mean he does stupid garage sales every Saturday.
And you start off making wine videos saying this wine tastes like this.
Yes. So there's something out there for everybody. If you're looking for the short term, I gave you a bunch of short term ways to make cash this week or next week, right? Yeah. Facebook ad creation is another one. I think the market's pretty saturated right now, but if you can take a couple of Udemy courses on how to make Facebook ads, it's not that complicated if you get a little bit creative with demographics and upcoming events. I think right now for me, upcoming events is the holy grail of Facebook ads. Upcoming anniversaries, upcoming birthdays, things like that. People going to this event. Those are the home runs for me on Facebook ads right now. But you could do that if you have a friend or family member that owns a pizza joint or something like that. You can make good money there.
I'd say Amazon. Amazon is jumping right now, looking for drivers, looking for people to help participate in everything they have going on.
Yep.
Everyone's buying stuff online. Instacart. I would say Uber, but you can't really go out too much because of things going on, depending on what city you're in. But
bargain bins to Amazon or bargain bins to eBay, right? That's a good way to do it. I can't wrap my head around it. This is such a weird thing to hate, and the things that I hate in life are so bizarre. I hate shipping things. It drives me crazy, right?
Why do they drive you crazy?
I don't mind shipping things if it's wildly consistent. So I sell hand wraps, so I don't mind packaging them and shipping them out on a regular basis because it's always the same size. I feel like when you're shipping something of a different size or weight, it's such a hassle to find the right box, to find the right bag, to figure out how the cheapest way to ship it is, right? It's just such a hassle that for me, I hate doing it so much. It's not worth me figuring out how to buy things cheap and sell them for high on the internet because I have to deal with the inconsistency of the shipping size and packages. And I don't like doing it. That's why I don't do it. But if you're okay with that, if you enjoy that kind of thing, buying stuff at your garage sales and Walmart on sale and selling them on eBay absolutely works, right? For me, I prefer to buy a whole lot of one thing cheap, send it to Amazon in one big package, and then have it fulfilled by Amazon.
Drop shipping.
Right. Wholesaling more than drop shipping.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So the difference between wholesaling and drop shipping, just real quick, if you want to know, I don't know if you do or not. Drop shipping is I never hold the product in my hand, right? I have a deal with the distributor and I sell his stuff. I collect the money, I pay him, and he ships it directly to you. Wholesaling is I find a manufacturer, I buy $1,000 of a product at wholesale prices, I get it, and then I sell those at a profit. Right. So that's actually retailing, but buying wholesale and then selling retail, which is a great way. If you're going to go that path, it's a lot more preparation, right? Because I just bought a whole bunch of stuff from Pakistan, and it's a 25-day turnaround, right? So,
deal with that.
Right. So drop shipping or print on demand stuff like T-shirts. If you're going to have T-shirts, print on demand, Printful is a great way to do that. You can just design them and you can sell them immediately the next day, and your designs are going out the door. Way less profit, right? Because you're selling a shirt for $25 and you're getting 3 or 4. If you wholesale them, you can get them for the lowest I've ever gotten a printed T-shirt front and back was $7, but now I get them for like $9 to $15. I've never bought like a $50,000 run, a 50,000 piece run, but you can get them down to $3 and $4, right? Printed T-shirts.
Not bad.
If you want to commit to 50,000 pieces. I've never done that, but my printer he tells me, you should buy 50,000. I'm like, no,
it's too much, man. Too much.
Even for $3, I don't have 150 grand to sit in the bank. So, which I did, but I don't. And if I did, I don't know if I'd buy T-shirts.
Another thing that you could do if you're in college that I just thought about this now when you brought up the T-shirt thing. There's a crew in my neighborhood. I think we live in St. Louis, and Mizzou is a school that a lot of kids go to.
Right.
They call themselves the Mizzou crew.
Right.
There's all college kids, and they put flyers all throughout the neighborhood about doing all kinds of landscaping, like cutting grass, pulling up trees, all the things that people don't want to do when it comes to yard work.
Right.
So for a college kid, if you're home, because you most likely are,
right.
There's all kinds of stuff you could be doing outside for free and get cash in your hand. Right. And it wouldn't take too much to do that.
Another thing and we'll wrap up after this. My neighbor goes to Mizzou, and Courtney. Yep. She went to Mizzou. She doesn't anymore. And I would love this. I think this is a phenomenal idea. phenomenal concept. I wish somebody would run with it. She would, when she was at Mizzou, she would decorate coolers, like beer coolers. And they would deck them out, man. They would be really, really cool, but they would put college logos on them. They would make them for the football players. So the football player would have like his own customized with his logo and his number and all that stuff on his cooler, right? And they don't have a custom cooler category anywhere right now. So if you wanted to start a business, custom coolers would be a pretty cool one, I think. And they did some really cool stuff, right? And then she showed me a couple Instagrams of all these different, really coolly decorated coolers. I'm not a cooler manufacturer. I don't love that industry, so it's not for me. But when I saw it, I'm like, wow, I really would like to have one of those made for me, right? Like, I would love to have a point and click designer to build a cooler.
Yeah, it is really cool.
And as you'll get to know me more throughout our journeys together, I'm a little bit of an adventure guy, so I like to go out and on camping trips and things like that. So I have a pretty good investment in coolers anyway. But they're all.
I think everybody has more coolers than they even need.
Yeah, none of them are.
But none of them are
unique
decked out.
To me, right?
Yeah, exactly. None of them are decked out.
So, I think we're gonna wrap that up. We're just over an hour right now. If you want to text me directly, 314-370-2871. It will be up on the screen somewhere. That's 314-370-2871. That's my personal text messaging community app. So. I'll send, happy birthdays and some motivational stuff.
There you go.
If you follow me on TikTok, it'll be very much like the TikTok kind of content that I put out. Less goofy stuff, more business tips and things like that. So
okay, good stuff. Email?
My email, ken.cox@Hosterian, HOSTIRIAN. Right here on the screen. Thanks, guys. Brian?
Awesome, right? So the text me would be 314-216-2040. That will pop up here. For my email, it's Brian, BRIAN .Montgomery. That's MONTGOMERY @Hosterian, HOSTIRIAN.com. All right.
Awesome. If you've got a project and you need some technical help, let us know. Right? And if you just got a question, we don't charge to answer questions.
Right. So you have questions about any of that kind of stuff, anything we've talked about here or things that we have not even mentioned yet, which brings me to my next statement here is that if you have a topic that you would like to hear or a question that we did not answer on the show that you want answered, let us know that in our text lines or the email, and we'll make sure we get those answered for you.
Awesome. Get to work.
Make it count, y'all.